everybody. A warm welcome to another interview on Wisdom from North. I'm Jannecke, and today it's such a joy for me to be here with Janet Miller. Janet is an intuitive energy healer. She's also a certified health practitioner, and she's helping people really recognize their divinity and also to open up to their gifts inside. And she is the hostess of the popular show On Your Divine Light Season 1 and 2, which I've had the privilege and honor to be part of as a guest. And my episode is coming on November 13th. And the good news is that you can still have access to this show if you're watching this in November 2019. And then you can sign up below. It's totally free to be part of it, and the link is below. And then you get access to amazing episodes with highly recognized teachers that Janet is interviewing. And I also have a gift for those who are signing up. I have 3 meditations that I'm giving out for free to help you create more self-love in your life. All right, Janet, over to you. How are you? A warm welcome.
Thank you, Jannecke. Oh, I'm happy. I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you for the honor of being here. I am really, really, blessed. Just excited.
Beautiful. Well, I love your show, and I think we had such an amazing time together when you interviewed me. And like I said, it was such an honor to be part of it. And you've been doing this twice, actually. This is season 2, and I'm curious about where this was birthed from. What is your intention with the show, and why did you want to create it?
Yes, thank you. Well, it actually can go way back into childhood, where I, starting out in there, but I won't go that far back right now. But, when I became awakened, let's say, I knew that I wanted to be of service and became a healer. So I knew that there was more I needed to do. So I was doing my practice and I was helping people out, but then I needed to do more. I wasn't where I wanted to be yet. And the show came into play as far as part of something I was learning, and it's been the most wonderful opportunity to be of service to people, because I know that I needed to know about owning my divine light and where my divinity was and who am I. And growing up Catholic and going to Catholic school for 12 years, that was my base. I didn't really buy into the whole religious stuff. I mean, I believe in God and all that. I know there's a higher source, love, I call it. But as far as divinity, like truly right now we're learning about who we truly are as beings of light and essence, and we're so much more than we realize. That I felt called that people need to own their light, because I didn't really own my light when I was young, because I was traumatized in youth and growing up with the alcoholic family.
Yeah, and you had a father that was an alcoholic, right?
Yes. And and I became kind of that affected my whole life. And my mother was I was her confidant, so I became her best friend, and I was her therapist, and you name it, I was it. And so I kind of lost my childhood, and I lost all that because I had to grow up really quickly. And so I had to be there for her as the solid foundation, because it was hard. It was very hard for her as well. And so because of that, and going out on my own, I had to get out of my house when I was 19, because I knew I needed to save myself from this craziness in my family. So I left and I moved out, and found my way. But, I hadn't really opened up to, let's say, the spiritual world yet. I mean, like some people start really young. I always had an interest in the esoteric, but I really can't say I was given any, big openings or awakenings when I was young, because the trauma, I think, blocked it. And as I got older, I always had a curiosity. So getting older, I said, I really need to do more, because I haven't reached where I want to go. So owning your own divine light is so important to me, because people need to know their essence and who they truly are. And that being your divine light, you own your dark and your light. There's two, you don't have to be just this perfect person, I've heard of spiritual bypass. I really didn't even get what that was until recently. And what I'm understanding it is...
Yeah, tell us, for those who...
What I'm understanding it to be is that people, when you're spiritual, you're supposed to be like perfect or something, like this perfect person. You're always good. You're always, doing the right thing. Well, that's impossible. We're humans. We still make mistakes. We still get angry. We still have emotion. So it's important for us to see that and own it. It's okay to be human. I mean, it's important as long as you're not hurting anybody. But, you know, you need to work with your emotions. You need to go for help if you need it. You know, I think it's important to work with people if you're stuck, if you're blocked. I mean, I had to go for help. I mean, you know, and I ended up in the alcoholic syndrome. I had to get sober. I've been sober for 27 years. So to me, thank you for, you know, those programs. It opened my door to spirituality. And so for me, the show is opening the door again to people who are new. And, you know, I call myself a divine light activator because I feel that people they come to me when they're starting to wake up. It seems to be like I help them open the door to that awakening. That's what the kind of clients I get, and it helps them on their journey, and they open and they start, you know, learning about what's going on, why this connected to that, your emotions, you know, the whole system of the emotions, the mental, physical, spiritual, emotional bodies are so important to connect with that we forget from Western medicine how, you know, I grew up as a nurse. I became a nurse and I wanted to be of service my whole life. So I became a nurse. And, but when I got into healing work, I was introduced to Reiki, my whole world opened up. I knew this is the most important thing I could be doing. And my heart was in its full passion then. And when I see people's results, how they change and how their life moves into a flow and into, so much happiness. I mean, they have joy in their life again. They have like that child, they've almost rekindled their child, and their inner child is rekindled because they're allowed to feel joy again, which, you know, how many people can say they feel joy again?
You mean
I think we are
after opening up to the spiritual journey, you mean?
Yes, I feel that, you know, people are feeling more joy when they open up to the spiritual journey. They have more clarity in their life. The flow is better. And at least they have an understanding of why is this happening, or more of a connection to, you know, why did this occur in my life? Like, you know, when I do healing work, I have knowings. I have a knowledge, and I see pictures, I see information. It just comes, it flows. And so I share that with them. I never hold back. I share everything, and not that it's nothing that's going to hurt them or, you know, be scary, but it's all information that's important to them to know. And I'm usually only given the things that it's important for them to know because that's my intention.
Yes, I'd love to ask more about how you actually developed your intuitive skills. I just want to go back a bit because you mentioned that we have this picture sometimes of spiritual people, how they're supposed to be. And I think it's so important that you're mentioning that because I had that myself. And I've also noticed it in some people that they're saying that, you know, I was following this leader with this teacher, but all of a sudden he was divorced. And I was like, how can he be divorced with, we talks about these things like he should. And I was saying, yeah, but he's a person, you know, he's a person. And I think it was, I don't remember, but it was like a big teacher. So I think we do, it's a very human thing that we put people and teachers on pedestals. And I did that myself when I went to India. And then when I realized that they had mistakes and failures, and they were actually talking a bit condescendingly to the students because I was at this ashram. And I didn't get that before later that wasn't okay, because I accepted that because he was so elevated and so wise. But later when I expanded my awareness, I understood that, whoa, you know, he's just a person too, and he's dealing with his stuff. So it's so important to mention that, and also not judging ourselves. Why haven't I come farther? I've been on this journey for 20 years, you know? Shouldn't I be like Zen right now?
Oh, right.
But the thing is,
me too, I've said that.
Yeah. And I think you said in another interview, the more we expand, the more we need to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought that was so interesting. Yeah, because then you're reaching to, in a way, a next level where you are meeting other things to learn more about yourself. So in a way, I mean, it doesn't get like that we're like getting on this pink cloud and it's all easy, but we do get also more challenges, I feel like, in a sense, but in another sense, and opportunities to grow. But we're definitely, and a much more, the more you expand, I feel like the much more you are accepting, like you were saying, everything of what you are. And when you're judging your spiritual or judging yourself for not being spiritual, that is not accepting, you know.
Yes, it's important to accept your shadows and your light, because, you know, I was talking to someone yesterday how I shared how when being an AA member, Alcoholics Anonymous, and being in program for so long, I did the 12 steps, and the 12 steps of AA are so important. There's such a spiritual awakening in itself. And the fourth step was write down any of the people that you have hurt in your life. And, you know, we're always looking at who hurt us and how we've been wounded. And we never look at what we've done. We forget. We've also done it, you know. So when you're pointing that finger, there's still 3 more pointing back at you here. And so here you are going, okay, I can say that you hurt me, but what did I do? What have I done to other people? And so the fourth step makes you write down your whole list. So I had to write down my list of people. And one of the memories that came up was something from my childhood, like something I was in high school, I was in grammar school, and I was going to school, and a Catholic school, girls and boys, and I was running for May Queen with another woman, Franny. And Franny and I were always like a little competitive. She was artistic, I was artistic. We were both, you know, kind of popular, but she won, I didn't. And I was like, okay. You know, I had to accept it. And then we were out one day, and she came from a family where she really had to work very hard. She had no money. I mean, I had a little more than she did, and it was very cold out, and she worked cleaning rooms in a hotel. That's what they did in those days. I mean, kids could do that. Young kids. She was probably like 14, and she could do it, or 15 maybe. And she had a pair of new leather gloves, and she said, "Here, take my gloves, and please put them on. But please make sure you give it to me, give them back, because I just bought those." And of course, you know, I didn't give those back. And I was like, wow, you're a good Catholic girl. What's wrong with you? How could you not give those back? But I was a little jealous of her, because she won the May Queen. She was a better artist. She actually became a famous artist out in San Francisco.
It wasn't the worst thing to do, though.
No, but I took her, but they were her leather gloves that she earned with her money, her hard-earned money. Her parents didn't buy them. She bought them herself. So when I decided I had to apologize to her, actually, I was out in California at a Dream Coach event, and I knew she was living out there, and I emailed her and I said, "Can we meet? I would love to meet you." And, you know, I did write to her, and she said, "Well, I remember that event, Janet." She actually did remember. So see how these things stick? People, these things just stick. And she said, "Well, the thing to do is to buy me a new pair." And I went, "Oh my goodness, what a great idea." Wow. So I bought a pair, and they were such a cool pair. They weren't the classic pair of leather, no. They had colors in between, like rainbow colors, but they were leather. And when I gave them to her, she loved them. She said, "Oh my gosh, these are so unique, so wonderful. I love these gloves." And so she was so grateful that I could do that. And, you know, so I felt so much better, and it was healed. I was healed and she was healed. And it was such a gift for both of us. And it was, so instead of living from our wounds, which I find people do sometimes, we live through our wounds because, you know, we don't even recognize that they're wounds. We just think it's part of our life, and it's really not. These are things we can correct, we can change. It takes courage sometimes to do that step, to say I've done things that are wrong, I've hurt people, and to, you know.
What do you mean by that, living from the wound?
Living from the wound is like any kind of core wound you've had from childhood or that you brought into this life, traumas that you've experienced in your life. I know my own family lived from wounds because they grew up. Alcoholism was a rampant thing in my family. Both grandfathers were both involved in that. So I had both sides involved. And it wasn't my mom, but it was my dad, you know. But still, she was like, you know, the other side of the coin, the victim and the whole thing. So it was not fun to be around either of them, really, in the end. It was sad because she wouldn't get out of it either. She wouldn't go for help to take care of her issue. She didn't recognize it, and she didn't want to shame my father, which I thought was too bad because he would have gotten help from it if she had stood up and been stronger. But she was afraid to shame him. But what's worse than walking down the street, you know, drunk and embarrassing, you know? It was terrible stuff. So, you know, that's the kind of stuff I think that holds people back from changing themselves, because they don't want to look at what the wounding, where did that come from? What's my wound due to? And did I hurt other people? They don't want to take on their own responsibility a lot of times for what they've done. And that's a hard thing. It is. It takes a lot of courage and willingness to do inner work. And that's why I think everyone, it's so wonderful for someone who is willing to start opening up and awakening to the higher consciousness, this new 5D world we're opening up, to have people look at their 3D thinking and say, well, this is all polarity, which is the right and the wrong and the black and the white. And this is changing. The 5D world is living from your heart. It's moving into that heart-based living. Just being kind in your life. You don't have to be doing a show like this, or my show and your show. We're doing shows. You don't have to do that. You don't even have to do healing work. You don't have to do any of this. You just have to be a good person in your life. You just have to, like you see it happening now. I actually think since 9/11 happened in the States, that it opened the door to an open heart. Like it shocked so many people into stepping out and becoming community again, offering themselves to help each other. And now people are doing this pay it forward movement. You hear it. It happened a few years ago when people start paying for people behind them in the line at the grocery store. Or if you're if you go to like Starbucks drive-through or something and you want to buy, people will say, I'm going to pay for that person behind me. It's just a kindness, just like this wonderful humanity, this bit of humanity that shows that you really care about each other, whether you know each other or not, because we're all one.
And we are love. That's the thing. We are love. And I think you said it, that's why I thought about it now, but we really want to be happy and, joyful. We don't want to move around with hatred and wounds.
Exactly. And I think that people in general really care about each other. It's just that the news shows us the opposite. And if you watch the news, it's such a perverted version of humanity, because they only show the bad news. It's such a tiny version of humanity. Exactly. And then at the end, like in the States now, the big thing they do is show a good thing that happens to somebody. And I'm like, well, thank goodness they show that. It kind of, at the end, they uplift you from all the drama and the traumas in the world that they're showing you. Now they're uplifting you with this wonderful heartfelt story, which kind of brings you back into your heart again, which is a good thing. So that's the only good thing I see about the news, which I don't usually watch, but my husband loves it, so he'll watch it occasionally. And he'll say, why don't you want to watch? I said, because you're going to tell me what I need to know. I'll find out somehow. Someone's going to tell me, because we always find out what we need to know, especially those kinds of things that are happening in the world. So I thought, 9/11 was a huge opening for the world, in a matter of fact, because the world was so shocked that this happened, to us, even here, because this was supposed to be such the land of the free and the safe, and it was just like everywhere else. Anything can happen anywhere in the world. And we are one, and we all want the same thing for each other, no matter what our culture is. We all care about each other. We all have births. We all are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, whatever you are. We're all related somehow. And we all have this thinking that life is about love and joy and being, kind to each other. We don't want to hurt each other. And it's just these beliefs that people think, I have to be right. I have to be right. So to be right, I mean, would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? That's the, I've heard that.
A good expression.
Right. And also
masterclass teachers is saying that as well.
Yes. And it changes you when you look at that, because what does right do for us? It's judging. It's just judgment. And, to get the 5D energy that I see that's coming in for us is that we're accepting each other. We're willing to hear each other again. I mean, to be able to hear another person's opinion and to let them, be heard, and not have to agree with it, but let them be heard. You don't have to agree with anybody. You can still hold your own belief, but they don't have to be hurt from you, or they don't have to be, talked down from you. They just have to be heard. They're allowed.
Yeah, and seen. I mean, I think on some level it has to do with one consciousness showing up for another consciousness and just acknowledging each other's existence.
Exactly.
Janet, I wanted to ask you, you've been on the spiritual journey for quite a long time, and you're helping people. And do you have any advice on practices you can do on the spiritual journey?
Yeah, well, I know for me, just to start to connect with healing energy, healing work, when I was introduced to Reiki, the peacefulness and the calmness that it brought me was huge. And I had never experienced anything like that. So I had to have more. And then I had to train in it to, do it myself because I knew this was my journey. But I think for other people, that's a great way to start to experience some kind of energy work or healing work, or also to, even just try to meditate or go out in nature and just connect, just be very conscious, because right now it's all about being in the now. I mean, fifth dimensional energy is being, it's a human being. It's being in the now. We're no more human doings, which we've been doing for so long. And human beings is so important because the now moment is all we have. It's really all we have. If you look at nature, nature's all we have. Nature knows at the moment. This is that's all they know is the moment. The trees and the flowers and the birds and the animals, they only live in the moment. And this is where we're heading. This is what is keeping, the focus of the 5D that I'm understanding is that living in the now is very important. And so to just be very present in your body is helpful, to give yourself stillness during the day. I mean, if you can say, oh my gosh, my life is so crazy, then you need stillness. You need to either go out in your yard and sit for 5 minutes, or just walk around your house, or go out or just sit where you are and just have a quiet moment. Meditation, I think, is extraordinarily good for you. And you don't have to do it for an hour. I mean, the old ways was an hour, 2 hours. You don't have to do that. You can create this block. You can start with 5 minutes and put yourself in that beautiful pyramid of light, and put yourself and ask for your intention of the highest beings of the highest light to come through for you.
Yeah, because it's something you have to train. You're if you're not used to meditating, it's
exactly.
a muscle. It's a muscle,
Yes,
and people don't know that. It's your concentration just it's not ready to do like half an hour.
No,
so your body will rebel.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, the monkey mind is going to pop in. It always does. And I was just telling this to a girl I was just speaking to, and she's like, oh my goodness, I never thought of it that way, which was just to sit in that quiet, even if you give yourself 5 minutes. And she goes, well, I can't get my head to stop. So I said, picture a cloud, and just as soon as you start feeling the monkey mind coming in, just thank you for sharing, stop, and just look at the quiet, the clouds floating by. It's like the old, when we were kids, you'd say, look at the sheep, count the sheep. I never really did that, but that's like an old
It never worked for me.
No, it never worked for me either.
Never worked for me.
No, I don't believe in that one at all. But the clouds can help because it keeps it clean, and it kind of keeps your mind a little blank and open as you can. And even if you do it for 5 minutes, and then that quiet and that calm you get from it, your body kind of likes that. And so you're going to be naturally called back to it. If you really are not in any stillness in your life, your body's going to start saying, hey, remember that moment? You're going to be reminded of it. And it's going to call you back and say, go in there and do it again. Go to your bedroom early and just make it early. Like, give yourself 10 minutes to go to the quiet spot. So nobody's in it. If you have a TV in your room, which I don't have one in my bedroom, I don't believe in it, but I know many people do. Don't have anything on in your room. Just make it yours. That's my sanctuary. That's my quiet place. If I can read in my room, that's it. That's all and maybe music occasionally. That's it. But
I think I'm not sure if it's actually possible to stop our thoughts, or if we should go for that, because I did that for a long time, trying to stop my thoughts, and then I started judging myself for not being able to it. So what I started doing was just to actually also focus on or imagine the thoughts as clouds, and then I would just observe them, and I will go back to my focus point. So I had a focus point, which is usually my breath or my heartbeats or something.
Yeah, that's nice. Yes,
so like going great. Back all the time. But
exactly.
If I was lost in thought, I would be like, oh, I'm lost in thought. That's okay. Like with the loving attention.
Yeah, and it's okay. Yeah, and it's okay to catch yourself lost in thought. It's a good thing, because now you're becoming aware.
Right.
You're becoming present. You're becoming present in your body, and you're saying, oh yeah, this is what I do. But that's okay, because now you're understanding what the difference is between stillness and your thoughts in the way. It's giving you you're getting to see them side by side, and then you just kind of can go into that. I like the breath idea. Focusing on breath is great. That's a great idea. And Yeah.
And then I know you have a prayer that you're doing that I just, wow, thought was so powerful that I had to write it down. It is a benevolent,
Oh, the most benevolent
most
outcome prayer.
benevolent
Yes,
outcome
yes.
prayer.
I adore that prayer. And it was Tom T. Moore, who's been on my show twice, and he's an amazing expert. He, he's had 1,000 lives. He knows he's connected with this, and he's been given this information. And he was he goes back to Atlantean times, and that's where he started as a high priest in Atlantis. And when he was there, he found out that he had brought through this this benevolent prayer. Well, then again, when he came into this life, it came through again, like a
Oh, it
channel.
came from Atlantis? I didn't get that.
Well, he created it, and when he was in Atlantis, he
Oh
did.
my
He brought it
goodness.
through. Yes, and isn't that
This is
interesting? Huh?
esoteric stuff.
It is. I love
Wow.
it. I
Wow.
know. I love it. So he,
Hmm.
when in this life, he was sitting at a channeling, and he had this guy who was a great channeler. I can't think of his name, but Stupin, I think his name, Sutpin, somebody named Sutpin. I can't think of his first name. And Tom went into a trance, and he started channeling right there in front of them. Had never done it in his life, and he brought through this prayer. And they told him that he was a shaman, and this was something he's done many, many lives. And so this prayer is absolutely magical. It's and what it is you ask for your beings of light who are around you, because in our life, I mean, you can ask for the ascended masters, and you can ask for Jesus and Mary and all those people, but they're really busy sometimes. So you have your own group. I mean, they're never too busy, but they say sometimes it's better to ask for your own beings that are right around you all the time, because those are the ones that are the most accessible to you. You always have your 2 guardian angels, and you always have your you have a troop. We have at least 20 people or more around us at all times, and it could be relatives. It could be ascended being. You don't know who it is exactly. I mean, you might, some people might. I don't know all mine. I know Archangel Gabriel's always with me, but there's other people that are with me. And so
what is the actual prayer?
yes, that's what I'm getting to. The most so I ask all beings of light who are in service to me, I am asking for, and say you're having trouble finding something. I mean, something as simple as I lost my sunglasses. I ask for that to be found, and it's so I say, all beings of light, if you are listen to me, sorry about that. All beings of light who are in service to me, I am asking for the most benevolent outcome to finding my sunglasses. If this is for my highest good, even better than I can expect or hope for. So you leave it with an open-ended result, because maybe you're not meant to find them, and maybe you are. It's really not, it's the universe will decide if it's the right time for you to have these back. Well, I lost 2 pairs of sunglasses, and I have not gotten them back. So this is the first time my prayer never worked like that. It didn't come to me, and I'm like, okay, I gather it wasn't meant to be back. Because when I've done it for traveling, when I've done it for other people, like when people go on airplanes, they're like, Janet, please say that prayer for me. So I'll say, all beings of light are in service to Ida. I'm asking for the most benevolent outcome, that she has a safe trip, that she's got someone nice next to her, seating next to her that she wants to connect with, that her luggage comes through perfectly. And I surround them with that. And then I say, if this is for her highest good, even better than we can expect or hope for. And honestly, it's amazing. People always have a better trip. They always have a smoother thing happening around them. Everything goes smoother. It's amazing. And
I'm so fascinated by prayer.
I love it. I use it. I've been using it for over 15 years. And I will say that even my daughter's friend, whose dad was in the hospital having heart surgery, she asked me to say the prayer for him, because there was something wrong, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with the dad, and they were going to let him go. And she didn't want him to leave the hospital. She said, it's too soon. He's not ready. There's something not right here, because he wasn't catching his breath or something. And so all of a sudden I said the prayer, and she said within 5 minutes, another doctor came in the room just to check on him and found out what was wrong and got him corrected so that he was safe to go home. And she said, thank you, because the prayer worked. And it was just, it was amazing. It just happens like that for so many people. I mean, even if you ask for money, you can even ask, I really could use it. Doesn't mean you're going to get it tomorrow. And it doesn't mean you'll necessarily get it in the 5 minutes like she did, but it'll come at the time that the universe finds is the most important for you. Because we never know. The universe knows better than we do. It's God, it's source, it's, and
You
they
say
know.
to let it go, right? After
Yeah, you let it go. Absolutely. I mean, you can say it again if you want to, but you don't have to. You can say it once with that,
I felt
heartfelt.
something, sorry.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
I felt something really galactic over it. I
Yes,
don't
it
know if
is.
that's just me, but I felt there was something about the
Yeah.
light beings, like some
Yes.
beings that was highly evolved that I was, summoning.
Oh, good. Well, they
Yeah.
are. They're your higher beings. They are your higher beings of light that are here for you. These are all the beings that are, guiding all of us, who are also masters here on the earth, if we own it, which is owning your divine light, helps you to connect to that and to own your power of who you are as a person. And owning your power is really just owning your true essence and being your authentic you, which is like, and owning the dark and the light of you, which is okay, it's okay to say, all right, I can be an impatient person as long as you're not affecting everybody negatively. You have to just own that you are that, and then balance it, bring it into balance. Once you own these dark sides of you and you bring it into a balance, then you're living more authentically. It helps you live more authentically. That's what I've found.
You came from a background being Catholic, and then you open up to spirituality, and today you are a healer, and you actually see things. You see past lives. You see the chakras. Can you tell us a little bit about how that was all of a sudden opening that sense that we all have? Because I find it interesting from not being there to actually open up all these six senses. So how was that?
Yeah.
How
Well, I
was
mean,
that?
my first sensation that I got was when I felt Reiki. It was like this energy, like this inner hug. It was like I was getting this inner hug flowing through my body. It was an amazing experience.
Wow.
Just like this, like I was being caressed from the inside, like this flowing energy of a caress coming through my body. And that was like, really, it was like God's love coming through my body, or source love coming through my body, which I had never felt that before. I hadn't felt that kind of peace or gentleness since I was a child, a real young child. And I was like, wow, this is absolutely perfect. This is amazing. This is what I need to have more of this. So then that's when I started training. And so I remember just starting to feel the energy in my hands. I could immediately feel energy. I could feel the heat and the warmth. And when I put my hands on people, they say, oh, I can really feel your hands, Janet. I can really feel the heat. I can feel the warmth. And when people got on my table, I mean, literally, their arms would start raising. Things would start shifting like that. They could see beings around them. Sometimes they would tell me, sometimes I couldn't see the beings, but they could see the beings. And I would say, wow, that's so fantastic. And I would have a knowing. I always have a knowing. So when I go through the chakras, I can like see in the chakras what's going on. So I tell them a story in each chakra, all of them. Yes, I can kind of see a story in the chakra, like what's going on that's important for them to know. So something comes up, like this is what I see, and I don't know these people very well, so I can't. I'm just telling them what I see. And then when I tell them at the end of the session, they're like, oh yes, that's absolutely true. This happened to me then, this, that. And oh my goodness, I can't believe you saw that. And then I see the transition, how it transitions into light and how it's changing for them and how they're releasing it because they've allowed it. Because when you come for a healing, you've allowed the energy to work with you. You're saying to universe, to source, that I'm open now. I'm open to have, change in my life. I'm open to, releasing this old stuff in my body. Because it's stuck. Energy can get stuck in your body. It really can. And we know that because some people actually see a darkness. Like I could see like darkness over a person. I could literally like pull back a veil off of them because it was like a shroud. It was like a shroud over them, a dark shroud. I had to pull it off before we even started the healing because those are the things I would see. And then I'd just go through the chakras and do the reading with the chakras. And, I just get all kinds of information through that. And I would just give whatever they needed. I never held back. I would say a lot. And they would be like, how do you know? I said, I'm just giving you what I'm getting, because I would even look at myself and go, how would I know that? And I'd have to start trusting. And it takes a while to trust yourself, even, being willing to give that out. But I wanted to be in my truth. So I always gave it to people. I always told them, and it always was information they needed to hear. And they still need to hear.
I think it's so powerful when you get into that state. I kind of feel like it's a flow state where
it is a flow.
Yeah, you let go of the judgment of yourself.
Exactly.
And I have that feeling when I'm on stage and when I'm in interviews like this and just being really present. And I'm actually, I don't know what I'm saying most of the time.
But you're guided and you're allowing it.
Yes, yes. And I love that. That's why I feel so happy doing this work, because I'm so present. And it feels so good to me. And in my life, you know, I'm struggling with being present, but like when I'm on stage or doing interviews or whatever it is, or having live sessions with my members, I'm just so present and so relaxed, and it just feels so great. And it's kind of magical to me. And I trust really that everything will come to me. And then I shut off the camera and I'm like, oh, why doesn't thing come to me? You know, then I'm often back to.
Well, you've got to put yourself back in that space. You know, when we put it, it's true though. I understand what you're saying. I remember doing the same thing. I can finish with a healing and go in the other room to see my husband, and boom, we're at something now. All of a sudden, it's like, how did that just shift so quickly, you know? But these are the things we become more aware of. At least, you know, we're aware of it, right? And we're learning, and we keep growing through it. And then those times get less and less. That we're so different. It's getting less, isn't it? You see the shift less?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many layers, and I feel like I'm going through time. But from where I started, oh my God, I can't recognize myself. Even though I still sometimes have the thought, after 20 years, shouldn't I, you know, there is this ego saying, shouldn't I have become, you know, like Zen in my mind? But then I remind myself that, you know, this is like a fantasy. This is my ego talking. I've come so far. But I want to say something that it's very common not to acknowledge your steps. And I want to say that to everybody's watching, because it's so easy to say that. And I'm sharing from my own experience. I haven't learned anything. I haven't grown at all. And then people are like, you totally changed.
Absolutely.
Like, yes, that is true. So just training ourselves to become better at acknowledging the steps we've taken, how much we have grown and expanded, because we have.
Yes. And you're owning your divine light. You're owning your divine light right there, because this is your light that you bring, because it brings you the peace and that beautiful, like self-love you're talking about. We're learning self-love when we do these things, because we're giving us this, it's giving ourselves the light that we've been craving all our lives. It's love is light. It's the same word. They're both the same to me. And when you give it to other people, and you can give it, when you give it to yourself, then you can give it back out to others. Because until we fill ourselves, and I know you've heard this, we fill ourselves up with our own self-love and nourish ourselves, then we're here to give it out to others. And then when you can be of service and you see people having such results from it, it's such a wonderful, wonderful feeling. There's nothing better. There's nothing better.
Janet, do you have a few more minutes, or do you have to go?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you.
I enjoy talking to you. So a little bit more about the way you work when you heal. I'm just curious. It is something, because I sometimes interview also clairvoyant people who says that in the beginning they couldn't shut it off, and they were bombarded by it. So I'm just curious, like, how is it like for you? Do you see things all the time? Can you see beings around me now, for instance?
No.
Get into the zone.
Mine's not like that. It's different. It's more of a knowing. It's just like I can see pictures in my head, but I can't necessarily see them around you. I mean, sometimes I can see auras, but mine was more of a knowing, like a clairvoyance, not necessarily it's more like that, because I can really
claircognizance, I think it is.
Claircognizance, excuse me, that's the right word. I was thinking clairvoyance is incorrect. Claircognizance, exactly, claircognizance.
Right.
And that's what I, since healing school, because I went to healing school for 3 years, that's what I got there. I had a knowing all the time. I just knew. And you have to trust that. And that's building your own trust in what you know. So the more I did it, the more people got results, the more I trusted that this was a truth that I was doing and that they needed to hear and that would help them. And I saw people shift, like they'd come and they'd say, wow, after the healing, I went out and I decided to go to school here and do this. Or I would do a lot of holistic fairs at one time, and the woman would come and say, I come to you once a year, Janet, and I'm good for the year. I'm like, really? You never told me that before. You know, it's like, I don't know how someone could be good for you, but she was, and she was happy. And I'm like, that's interesting. And, you know, lots of results come after, you know, people have come to you, and they don't even realize sometimes because they're subtle. And yet it's still a change because they've allowed it to come through, and they've opened themselves up to, I call them like small miracles. They're miracles. Nothing is small. It's a miracle. It's a shift. And when you change after you open yourself to, and even now they're saying healing is not a word to use anymore. It's like, that's calling people broken. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but
I've heard that, and I'm thinking, okay, so we're saying healing a lot, but so I'm an energy, a conduit for energy, and that's really what we are, because we're like the mediator of the energy coming through, like, you know,
like realizing that we're already whole, and I actually
right, we are whole.
Approach. Yeah, realizing that.
Well, we're whole as we are, but if you're not happy where you are, we also need to release things, to let it out and get it out, and sometimes we can't do it ourselves. It is. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I could get crazy with this, but I won't let it happen. I used to get crazy over this. Now I don't. I'm like, okay.
Like spiritual paradoxes, you mean?
Yes. Like the thing about the healing, like, oh my goodness. All right. So I can be an energy conduit, and I can be there because people can't always do it themselves. Like, you know, when you're stuck in your own head, how do you change those thoughts? How do you know something new? You don't always know unless you take the time. I mean, and now we're coming into becoming sovereign beings, and this new energy coming in. We've asked to be, you know, on our own, to do what we need to do, and do it ourselves now, more and more. Elizabeth Peru.
Sorry.
No, Elizabeth Peru talks about her work. She talks about how we're becoming sovereign beings, and she talks about the council that have said, that we've appealed to say, let us just release. We're not there anymore to like save us. They're not here to sort of guard us and protect us like they used to be. We have to do it ourselves, because we've asked.
What are you talking about?
Elizabeth Peru. Have you ever heard of Elizabeth Peru?
Is she a channeler,
she's wonderful.
or?
She's out of Australia. She's an amazing clairvoyant healer. She's written a couple books. She's you would probably really like her on your show. You'd love to get her on your show. I would love her on my show too. I think I tried to get her one. I don't think she could do it yet, but you know, it'd be great. She's really amazing. She just came out with her new book, and I have it, but I can't remember the name of it. But she's a wonderful person. Bless you.
Sorry.
And she shares some amazing information that she gets from her, what she calls her council. And they talk about, this is her energy, you know, downloads she gets. And she talks about that they've said that we have decided to ask to be responsible for ourselves, and that we don't, you know, they don't have to be there like our semi-protectors. Like it's time for us to be responsible. So now we're more responsible for our own being, like who we are now. As humans, we've always been kind of guarded and protected here in the earth. And yet we're stepping into our power more, which they were like, we're growing up. We're moving out of the kindergarten, and we're probably moving into grammar school or high school now, one of those. And we're getting old enough to take care of ourselves. So I call it more like high school, at least, maybe not. I don't know, maybe it's grammar school. I don't know which one it is. But we're out of kindergarten for sure. And they said we were there for a long time, but we've graduated that, and we've moved into being responsible humans more and more. And those of us that are aware, we actually, you know, being of service is a great way to help other people become aware of how much we are responsible for our reactions, because we are creators of our reality. And so when you're a creator of reality, then you're responsible for your reality, because every choice we make, even if it's good or bad, it's never it's not good or bad anymore. It's just a learning. You know, that whole thinking is shifting, because it might not have been the best results. So we've learned from that. It wasn't the best result. So we now have to go on a new path. And when you're moved off your path of your journey, it doesn't always flow. So that's an indication right there that you're not on your correct path. You're not doing your soul purpose, because you're not flowing with it. It's not coming with ease. So when anything's really difficult, it's obviously you're not on your path yet. You're just not
so
there.
Important that you're saying that, because our old paradigm was saying that you have to struggle. So that wouldn't be a bell, you know, going off, because life is a struggle.
Exactly.
So now we're saying life is supposed to be joyful. You are joy. So when you're not feeling joy, you know, You're not
You're not in your flow. You're not flowing. And that's the 5D energy, if you want to put it there. I mean, 5D is really higher consciousness. It's just the heartfelt living. It's the community living. It's bringing in the oneness of the planet again. Knowing that we're all one is because we all are one. We are really all from that being, that giant source being, universal energy of love that I call it. And we're all aspects of love, you know, coming from in human form, having the experience so that source can experience. We're all part of source. That's why they say we're all one. That's how I understand it. That's what makes sense to me.
Beautiful, Janet. I could go on and on talking
Yes,
with
this
you.
is fun. Thank you.
I still had 1,000 questions, and but I always like to just let it roll and see where it goes. And thank you so much. So tell us a little bit now at the end, what is your next step after Own Your Divine Light show?
You know, that's a good question. I know I'm in season 2, so I really love owning your divine light because I think it's so important for people to own their divine light. I really do, because I know how it's shifted my life and got me to do this. Whoever thought I'd be doing this is like a miracle to me. I mean, I wanted to be invisible as a child, and here I am on you know, YouTube talking to you, and we have I don't know how many listeners, but it's amazing, you know, that we have this opportunity, and that I've allowed it to happen because I keep shifting and allowing the energy to come through. And it's not always easy. I can tell you, it can be a struggle, as you know, it's a struggle, but I don't go backwards. I'm like, no, I'm not giving up, and I'm going forward, forward, forward. So what's next? I would probably do another show because I love doing the shows like you do. I love meeting people like you, and that we get to connect like this. And this is the people of the world this is our community. We're the community. We're making these new communities of people to become living into this heart-based energy that we want in our lives. This is the heaven on earth that everybody wants to create, and we're doing it. We're doing it by bringing this to each other, to bring it to anyone, the listeners that are tuning into to us. And it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful to be of service in this way. So that's probably the next step. But yet, you know, I'll probably do a webinar after my show. And then, you know, I'm also writing a book chapter of a group of women. So that's kind of in the works too. So got a couple things going on, which is a lot at the moment. But it's kind of fun, and I love to do that. I love to keep challenging myself because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
You know.
I feel like you're just going to go on and on, create more and more, and I'm excited to see what will unfold for you. And
I feel the same about you. I feel the very same.
Thank you. So all the best with season 2, the rest of it. And like I said, guys, you can sign up for it. It's totally free, and the link is below, and all the links to Janet's website is also below. So thank you so much, Janet, for coming on today.
Thank you, Jannecke, so much. What an honor, what a privilege. And thank you all for listening, who has ever tuned in. I'm just really grateful and blessed to be doing this work. Totally.
And thank you so much for watching, guys. Much light from Norway and the US. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please click a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you want notifications of new videos, you can click the bell button. Now, I also have a gift for you. I have a free meditation called Meet Your Future Self. So if you want to become a conscious co-creator, you can download that free meditation where you meet the highest version of you and co-create together with your future self. You can download it below.